Welcome, everybody, to What's the Play? Week 10 recap. I'm Corey, joined as always by Lucas. Lucas, how are you tonight?
What's the play? I like that.
Uh,
Doing good. How are you, Corey?
Not too bad. Long day at work, and now I get to sit down tonight here and talk some football with you. So,
Yeah,
looking
not
up.
about that. Thinking about work right now.
Yep. So, um, pretty good week, I guess, this last week, both in terms of enjoyability of watching games and obviously on the betting slate. So, um, probably not definitely for me, not one of my best college football weeks, but, NFL kind of average, made up for it with a late Monday play. So um, let's get into it and let's just go over, the picks that we made and what we thought of the games. Um, let's start with something we have been sort of inconsistent on doing. Is the winners and losers of the week. So who are some winners and losers, game wise or player wise, both college? Let's start with college. Who are some winners of the week for you?
The Maction. 2-0
Maction.
in the Mac. Got another Mac bet on tonight. It's looking good so far. Games are in the first quarter, but I'm definitely enjoying the Mac. I know we have had a lot of success with the Maction. Those gross Tuesday and Wednesday games.
Yeah, um, I think with sports gambling, what it does is it does kind of allow you to. So I think the Mac's an important conference and how everyone's kind of moved to the college football playoff. As obviously tonight the rankings will come out. I think it's important that we don't lose some of these smaller conferences because they do matter, and there's kids there that are just obviously a majority of them are not going to make the NFL, but they're still out there kind of chasing their dream, if you will. So I enjoy watching. It's not the greatest
Oh, that,
football in terms of quality, but you know what? There's been some great MAC games. Every year there's at least two or three that you'll watch. And you're like, damn, that was a good game. So I think it's great that we're kind of still kind of plugging in there and watching them and gambling on them and winning. So that's a good win. I think my win of the week is going to be Ole Miss. They really needed that win for their playoff chances still. Big win anyways in terms of, beating a Georgia team that, as we kind of went over last week, I still kind of got my notes here that, Lane Kiffin was I called him the James Franklin of the South. He's 2-8 versus Bama, LSU, and Georgia, and he finally kind of got a really big win. And I don't think it's understated to say that how big that win was after their quarterback went down, which is why I did not bet them live like I said I would. But I know you didn't bet them live either for the same reasoning. So big win for them. Great for them. Now we got quite a few top heavy SEC teams that have 3 losses. So I think it'll be interesting to see where this committee kind of ranks those teams. Unfortunately, I feel like their SEC bias is going to keep them quite high, maybe artificially so, but I'll try to stay off my soapbox on that one. So losers of the week. I'll start with this one. I am going to say my Iowa State Cyclones. They are massive fucking losers of the week. Had everything in the palm of their hand, and kind of has really just declined after the bye week, which has been just disgusting to watch. I think the injuries on our defense has really kind of caught up with them, especially at the linebacker position. I rewatched the game because I'm a freaking sicko and just wanted to hurt myself, I guess. So, and the more I rewatch it, the more I could tell it's just these linebackers are, they're 4-string guys for a reason. They're slower, constantly out of position, and that secondary was trying to cover up by creeping up. One of our best safeties was out, and you saw the play I can't get out of my mind was we did a cornerback blitz, and the safety just didn't slide over and take the wide receiver, and I mean, he was so wide open. I think a freshman high school quarterback could have hit him. So it was an awful game to watch. Just really sucked. Kind of being you were 7-0 going in the bye, and then you come out and you lost 2 straight. So Iowa State, big losers of the week for me. What do you got?
Likewise, my Virginia Tech Hokies. I had a preseason bet over 7.5 regular season wins, and I was feeling excellent about it. That line got up to 8.5 and came out, lost to Vanderbilt, lost to Rutgers, and next thing you know, we're 4-5?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're 5-5. We got 2 more games. We got Duke in a couple weeks. I should be at that game, and then Virginia. Virginia's also at 5-5, so that's going to be a very significant game. Could be bowl eligibility for both teams on the line there.
Yeah.
The Hokies are 5-5. So that preseason bet I felt great about all summer. So much hype about the Hokies. Most returning starters in the country. I think Iowa State might have been second. I think we returned like 21 starters, and I don't know. I'm very disappointed in my Hokies, to say the least.
Yeah, I watched that game, and I don't know. Just you sat there, and I was watching, and I felt like they were competing kind of early on, and I still don't think Clemson is all that good, and
yeah,
it's just kind of hard to quantify really because I started switching back and forth on that game. Drones probably hasn't looked as sharp maybe as I think both you or I kind of thought he would be this season. He's a senior, right?
He's a junior.
He's a junior. Okay. So he's got another year. I'm not sure if they'll, them better than me, if they'll be able to return as many guys, but yeah, especially with the hype. And then obviously the, with the
hype they had over the summer, it's just unreal how they let everybody down.
Yeah. So, and especially with both teams, Iowa State and Virginia Tech kind of getting a better chance at a crack at the playoffs with where all you got to do is go win your conference. And, they've kind of just Iowa State kind of more than the Hokies here, where they start out 7-0 and then now they've just blown that dream all to hell. So, and really, Virginia Tech was still out there in front of them too. Just go beat Clemson and you're pretty much, likely going to be in, assuming you go beat Duke and Virginia. So both our teams let us down. So, all right, let's move to NFL. Who's some winners? Let's go with the loser. Let's end on a high note with these. Who's your loser, maybe a loser of the week with the NFL?
So I finally got Bet365 to sing on Pickett, so I had a -2 unit week in the NFL. Could have been a lot worse than that. I've had worse weeks this season, but
yeah,
-2 units. I think I had 1 yard from Tank Dell. That's a 2.5 unit swing. 1 yard from David Montgomery. That's a 2 unit swing.
Yep.
So 2 yards. That's a 4.5 unit swing.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the Jets for some reason I don't feel like I have very many bad reads, but I know I said on Friday I like so many of these underdogs this weekend, and I think the dogs were like 13-3.
Yeah.
Something like that. Very good against the spread. A lot of them went outright. A few of them did.
Saints, right?
They were. I bet the Jets for some reason. Yeah, Saints, Patriots, a couple others.
Yeah. Looking back, I can't believe I thought the Bears were going to win that. And actually, really, the play there for both of us was not when we were picking the game winners. We probably should kind of caveat that if we like an over/under better, that we should say that, like add that. Because looking back there, that was 100% the play was the under in the Bears game. So I can't believe I missed that one. Both you and I felt pretty sharp on that Panthers play. They won outright in overtime. So yeah, I don't know. I'd say probably loser of the week for me was just that early game. It's just another awful game that you have slotted, and it's overseas. Should be this kind of big thing, and the NFL kind of once again sends this like terrible product overseas, and it's almost a primetime game, and it's standalone slot there where there's no one else playing, and you have the Giants and the Panthers, 2-2-7 teams, just god awful. Now it became I guess I wouldn't call it good, but it was competitive. So I don't know.
Entertaining. Went to overtime. It was entertaining. Went to overtime.
Entertaining, I guess, towards
Not
the
the
end
best
because it
football
did.
game ever, but it was an
Yeah.
entertaining game.
Yeah.
We didn't
So
care who won.
it turned out better than I guess I expected, but it was still that first half was just god awful to watch. So that's a loser for me. I'll go with I'll kind of just roll into my winner. My winner of the week, I think, was probably I'm gonna have to go with the 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey back. They just looked like a far better. Well, of course, they just looked like a better team with him, which is no surprise given that he makes up so much of their offense and what they can do. You know, he is one of one. I actually, when I was walking my dog, I was trying to think if there's any team that has a player like him where if they lose a guy, that it means so much to their offense. And I don't think there is. Not a quarterback. Not a quarterback. Obviously, if Lamar goes down, that's different, right? But a non-quarterback type player, I just don't think there is one because, you know, he takes so much pressure off being an elite runner. And then when they come up, obviously they can sneak him out the side like Brock Purdy hit him on a kind of like wheel route there for, you know, pretty big gain. And, you know, otherwise they can still that second level really opens up with him that it didn't have with Jordan Mason. So we'll see how they fare. I can't remember who they play this week. We'll probably end up touching on that, but getting him back.
Seahawks.
Yeah, Seahawks. Thank you. So getting him back though, huge for their playoff hopes and their playoff run, I should say, or whatever. So winner for me.
I like that 9:30 a.m. game a lot. I had a couple plays in that game. Jalen Coker, Tyrone Tracy. Two of the easier bets I had the last few weeks. I wish I would have gone heavier with that 9:30 a.m. game. Of course, I think both of us are always cautious of international games and Thursday games and things like that. But Thursday night game was the best game of the week for sure. Bengals and Ravens, and I wish I went way heavier in that game. Same thing with that Giants-Patriots game.
Yeah, last night's game I thought was going to be
game.
I thought it was going to be really great, and you know, you and I were talking before we started the stream here that you and I both thought that was going to be such a great game, and it just turned into, I mean,
felt like preseason.
Yeah, a lot. It was just an awful game. There was 3 or 4. I think it was 3 drives straight where there was a turnover. So
drop passes, turnovers, shitty play calling.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a good football game last night. Of course, if you watched, you don't need me to tell you that, but
yeah. And that one pick, oh my God, Tua ducked down and he got hit in the head with a knee. I was like, Jesus, I don't know what that guy's doing. He just makes me clench my butthole every time he's fucking on the field and something. He takes like every sack he took. I was like, he's going to die. He's going to die. And obviously, I want that guy to succeed. I still think he's a really great quarterback. He has a great arm. It's just, obviously, he's taken far too many concussions. And
he cannot go making a tackle. Just not even get close to him. Not even
someone needs to really tell him, like in that situation, like if you're his coach and you see him do that, you tell him, if you throw a pick, just fucking go the other way.
Just run to the sideline.
Yeah, just go to the sideline.
Go make the tackle.
Yeah, because
it's not even worth it. It's literally not even worth it.
He means so much more to that team as a quarterback than trying to make some bullshit tackle, right? So I can't even remember who their backup is because as soon as he got hurt, I stopped, watching their games. So
Pro Bowl Snoop.
Who is it?
Snoop Huntley. Pro Bowl Snoop.
My God. Yeah. So you're not listening to this, but Jesus, if you somehow find this, please never attempt to tackle ever again.
And that goes for literally any other quarterback. Like we saw Mahomes take out Rashee Rice. Like why is Mahomes even trying to make that tackle? Not even worth it. We'd rather give him a pick six than have Tua make that tackle.
Yeah.
Of course, Kyron fumbled the next play after that, but it's not even worth it. Absolutely.
And did you see that fumble? That was kind of like that was very almost fluky.
I honestly don't even think it was a fumble. I'm surprised I didn't review that at all.
Yeah,
Of course, I
I
bet
was
the Rams. I had the Rams plus 3.5 in a teaser, but that kind of looked like he still had the ball.
yeah, I
I
kind of
don't
thought he
know.
was down.
And the fact they didn't even review it, they didn't even take a second to review it.
Yeah,
I guess maybe they did in the booth real quick, but they didn't pause the game.
yeah.
Like the
I
ball
mean,
was moving, but he still had like control of
it
it.
was still in his arm. It just like the peak or the top of the ball had like moved out a little bit,
Yeah,
and I don't know. To me when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's still control in my opinion. But
well, I
the
bet the
fact,
Rams, but I don't think that was a fumble. But
yeah, and the fact that it was like one of his own players' leg was like in between his arm somehow and like kicked it out. That was I don't think I've seen that before, so that was kind of strange. But yeah, I don't know. The Rams looked awful. They could not get clicking on offense. So
the
um,
Dolphins didn't even look that good.
no, they looked bad too. Yeah, I mean both teams bad. So
Really,
uh,
that first drive, they had a nice drive. Other than that, it was just awful offense from both teams.
yeah. So we'll
Rams kicked 5 field goals. A couple times they
uh
got into the red zone, set up for field goals.
oh
And
yeah,
we didn't even say that. The third, I've never, I don't, well, maybe I have seen it before, but the third down, they kicked the field goal on third down. I mean, I've seen teams do that before, but in that situation, why not just go for it on fourth
for it.
down? I needed that for the teaser.
Yeah.
So I was thinking I might get a lucky ass cash on the plus 3.5 there. But
Speaking of
if you
lucky
do
ass,
that, kick the field goal on first down. Why wait until third down? I mean, that blew my mind. A few
I don't
people
know.
were
Some of
asking what
these
the fuck happened there.
the play calling there, the play calling slash time management there didn't make any sense to me.
If you
Like
kick
you,
the field goal on first down right there, I understand it. Save an extra 20 seconds, but why
yeah,
on third down?
yeah,
And you even had the timeout, so you can take a sack there. I don't get it.
yeah. It didn't make any sense to me
Sean,
either.
I mean, I feel like both those head coaches, that's not the Sean McVay that I know. It's not the Sean McVay from 3-4 years ago, whatever we
No.
saw last night.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if really what's going on there.
But
Because
I felt
that
like
was
that
not.
all night. It was just
It wasn't sharp.
awful
It
play
wasn't
calling.
sharp.
It's easy to say that in hindsight when I'm sitting at home and like,
Yeah.
oh, they have awful play calling. You hear that shit all the time, but
Right.
really, they
Couch coach.
so
Right.
many
Yeah.
third ones. Yeah,
And we're not under pressure of the situation either. Right. We're sitting there. We're
it's
looking
easy to
at
say
it.
that at home when the shit doesn't work out. But
Yeah.
I can remember a couple just awful play calls. One screen that went for -5 yards, I think, on their first drive, and
Oh, it's Kyrie
Rams couldn't
Williams,
do.
right?
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
Rams just couldn't do anything on offense really the entire night. But Odell Beckham cashed me out. I'm lucky to not get reverse swept, as awful as that game was.
Yeah, I got lucky. The play I tweeted out. Well, sorry, I take that back. This was because it was a Colorado thing. The Colorado or the one I tweeted out cashed fairly easily with Odell at 10.5, and then Stafford at 200 because he at some point in the first quarter he'd had like 20 yards or something, and his
Yeah,
odds just tanked. That was pretty sweat free. Other than Odell, he had to wait. I think was it the fourth quarter he got that last catch. Um,
yeah,
but the one that I had actually just sent you in a text message between you and I, because Colorado does that your way thing, where I played Tua at 207 pass yards, and the dude ended
mhm.
literally at 207 yards. I sat there, I was like, bro, they're gonna want the first down here. You got to pass the ball, and then they did a screen. I think it was to Tyreek Hill, and he went forward, and he had like 5 yards, or no, it was like 4 yards. And I was like, oh, plenty. And then he like backstepped like 2 or 3 yards, and he got tackled. And they luckily spotted it. I think it was correctly, but from the angle they were at, I was like, oh my god, if they spot this poorly, like I'm gonna lose this by 1 yard. So, and I put 2 units on that damn play. It was Odell for 1 yard receiving, Tua for 207, and I think Stafford for like 217 yards or something. So ridiculously sweaty for no reason, especially after Tua in that first quarter, I think had 50 yards passing. So that was ridiculous. Other than that, yeah, I think I went 2-2 in the NFL last week. I played Christian McCaffrey first half touchdown. Obviously, he didn't get a touchdown at all. which was kind of surprising. Played that Monday night play, and I played Jefferson for 80 yards, which he didn't come close, I guess, at all. And that I think he ended with 48 yards or something, maybe 58.
Got picked 3 times looking for him.
Yeah, that was. The book may be out on Sam Darnold. I think I said that last week even, was that it felt that way where he doesn't look as sharp. Now these guys in the NFL have all this tape on him, and they're finally kind of starting to see his weakness. So we'll see if O'Connell can maybe scheme some stuff up for him. I'm not sure if he can. If he could, I feel like he would have been doing it by now. But that play I did with Jefferson was Baker for 225, and he didn't come close to that either. So somehow still finished in the green there, but just barely. Obviously, college, as I mentioned earlier, one of my worst weeks. I went 1-3 or 1-4. Sorry. My favorite play that I did mention of the week did hit, which was Utah 10.5. Should have won the game outright. Pretty wild game if you were up late watching that one on the East Coast. And then the Utah State, Washington State over 64. Like I said, it was going to be in the 80s. It was in the 80s. So Texas did their thing. Virginia Tech, kind of their team total, I had at 20.5. Unfortunately, didn't get there. And actually, even if I'd have played their spread, I wouldn't have covered that. The other loser I had was Texas Tech 10.5 and Indiana 6.5. That was kind of a whole bad beat ticket because Indiana wins by 5, and Tech was actually only down by 10 or something like that, and then fumbles the ball as they get one more chance essentially to go tie the game up. They're on their own 10-yard line after Colorado just kicked it, and then they get strip sacked and gets returned for a touchdown. So they lose by, 17 or something like that. So pretty crappy all around. Obviously, the live plays I mentioned was Ellis taking LSU. Live horrid play. Alabama looked pretty great. Jalen Milroe looked healthier. And obviously Ole Miss, which you and I didn't take because of the quarterback injury. So
I needed Ole Miss for a couple futures that are looking pretty good right now. Ole Miss was a sweaty leg. Maybe they still are the sweatiest leg, but Ole Miss up. That's a big winner for me this week.
Yeah, who do you is it a why don't you go over what that ticket was? Was it 6 leg or something?
Let me try to find that. I had a few of them that I really liked. I should already be logged into FanDuel.
Yeah, I know.
I did one that I really liked. Some of the chalkier teams. Ole Miss was the riskiest leg there. Then I added a few other extra legs. Now you had Liberty on there. Liberty's not going to make it.
Yeah, they're cooked.
So this one looks very good. This one's plus 4,000. Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Texas. Those 4 are locks. Notre Dame's going to make it if they win out. Ole Miss should make it if they win out. Then I have Boise State.
Yeah, Boise should make it. I don't
cash out. Yeah, that plus 4,000. Then I have just those 6 teams. And I have a few with 7 teams. I have Memphis, one with Boise. Oh, just those 2, Boise State and Memphis. Yeah, but that Boise State one, that one, this plus 4,000 lotto. This one's looking very good. I'm very excited about this one.
So Boise's got
a sweaty leg, and if you beat Georgia, that should be enough to get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
as long as they got 2 more games, Mississippi State and somebody else that they should beat. But if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you're going to make it
right
into the playoffs. Same thing with Notre Dame if they win out.
They should. Yeah. Army's going to be their last game of the year, I think.
I think they got Army and USC.
Yeah.
Might have 3 more games, but I think Army and USC.
So Boise's got 3 games left.
Lose one of those and still make it, but
yep, they should win. Boise should win out with San Jose State, Wyoming, and Oregon State. So I don't know
plus
how good.
4,000 is looking very good.
Yeah. What's Oregon State right now? Why am I on this?
And that 6 leg, I used a boost on that in July. We got very good odds on our futures.
Yeah.
Betting those in July. So those two, I'm very excited about that. Then I got this other one, to win 1,000 or win 1,200. I'm excited about that one. Looking very good. As long as the 49ers make the playoffs, this long ass one.
Yeah.
So I got 3 future lottos that are looking very good right now. A lot of my future straights are looking pretty good. Just not Virginia Tech. That's officially a loser.
Unfortunately. So Oregon State, I looked them up. They're 4-5, so they should roll them. So yeah,
I think so.
I don't see really a loss for Boise on the schedule here.
Yeah,
they almost lost. They almost lost to Nevada, and they almost lost to UNLV 2 weeks ago. But unless somehow they lose at Wyoming, but I don't see that because Wyoming's pretty bad. So they just are a slower paced team, which could somehow throw them off. But by God, if they lose to Wyoming, which is 2-7 right now, they're done for. So, we'll kind of look
ahead. Made with Utah. You can go ahead and grade that as a loss.
That's an L.
I don't need to see this anymore. Just grade it as a loss already.
Just take the money. Just take the money. So we'll kind of look ahead to some of these early college games, and then we'll touch on maybe the Thursday night game. Obviously, there is more action tomorrow that I'm sure you and I will probably tag into. Actually, let's start in order because the first game that will be on is the NFL game.
There's 2 Saturday games I like with college.
Yes.
Want to stick with college?
Yeah, actually, all right, we'll stick with college.
You already mentioned Utah. I think you said last week. Last week was pretty much it. They don't have too much to play for right now. BYU is it. Huge rivalry game and game they certainly could have won, and BYU pulls away late. They're looking like they can be in the playoffs, and now they have a 10 a.m. kickoff at Colorado.
Yeah, big game there. For kind of technically multiple reasons. Obviously, as you just mentioned, Colorado doesn't really have anything to play with, but this is going to be a culture game for them. I don't think Whittingham's lost his team by any means. Obviously, their AD got fined for, a casual $40,000 for his comments, which first off, I can't help it. I am going to step on a soapbox for a second. That guy's such a fucking jackass. Because if you watched his press conference, he just said the most asinine thing, which was, if anyone who followed over the summer, the whole conference shifting type thing where, Utah and Utah fans were just fighting tooth and nail, kicking and screaming like a toddler about how badly they didn't want to come to the Big 12, called us the truck top, not us, I'm not a player, called the Big 12 the truck stop 12. And then, oh, well, looky here, boys, y'all only got one fucking win. So, now they go and they lose to their rival, and their AD comes up to the stand and says how excited they were to join the Big 12. Bro, shut the fuck up. You were not. So at this point, fuck Utah. I hope they die as a program, not individually as people, as a program. I hope they just fucking tank, and I hope we kick them out. And you know what? Give me fucking Washington State. Jesus. Go back to the whatever bullshit conference Utah was before the Pac-12 picked them up. What a bunch of fucking losers. Those
Mountain West.
Mountain West, thank you. Go fucking back, you pricks. I'm tired of those fucking people. So We already got one fucking group of people that are soaking on their women. We don't need 2 sets of them. Jesus. So fucking tired of Utah.
Colorado's, they got a path to the playoffs now.
Yeah. So yeah, now that I'm off the soapbox, this is why this is why this game is actually really big, because even though Iowa State lost last week, and I think a lot of Iowa State fans, including myself, lost a lot of perspective, is that Iowa State could still make the Big 12 championship game by winning out. And if Colorado loses one game, just needs to lose one game, we're in every tiebreaker scenario. And that's purely because we would have beaten K-State and they got beat by K-State. So, if Utah doesn't die, what is the line currently right now? 10 and it's 10, flat 10. So if they don't roll up and die, that could be
line.
Yeah, that could be a big, big game in terms of who makes the Big 12 championship. If it's not Colorado's potential only loss for this season, especially after how good Kansas looked against us last week, and they have to go to Kansas. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not saying that I think Utah wins that game, but it's a big game. So yeah, that's a good spot. One I've kind of already got circled though out of the ACC is Clemson at Pitt. Line is pretty hefty at 10. I don't think that Clemson is good. As I've said multiple times, they're the fraudiest of all fraud teams, and I like that 10.5 there very early. I need to do some more digging on that, but that's kind of a game I've got circled. What's your other game? You said you had 2.
Coastal Carolina and Marshall. So Marshall's honoring the 75. They got their cool uniforms out in the plane crash victims.
Mm-hmm.
Some very cool uniforms this week. Of course, we both love narratives, and that's a narrative I really like. These are some awesome uniforms to honor those 75.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 50 years ago?
Yeah.
As long as I think 52 years ago.
This is also going to be probably one of the worst football slates.
Huge narrative there. Of course, this game, they honor the 75, I think, every year, but this game certainly means more than the others. They got some cool uniforms there. I love the narratives. That's a narrative I've been thinking about.
It's hard to bet against badass uniforms. It's very difficult.
So if you bet against Marshall this Saturday when they're wearing those cool uniforms, honoring the 75 victims.
Yep.
75 week. I like Marshall this week. I might put them in a play. I haven't watched any Marshall. Sometimes Virginia Tech plays, and we play them every few years. I like Marshall. I'm a fan of Marshall. I don't know. I just love the narrative. I love those uniforms. How can you bet against Marshall? So I'll dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
this is also probably going to be one of the worst, or one of the, probably the worst, other than, outside the what you could call preseason games, essentially. But a lot of the SEC teams are playing their bullshit softball league team in the middle of the season, which is just, I'm tired of that shit also. I mean, Alabama plays Mercer. What are we doing here? Stop.
Georgia and Tennessee.
Stop.
Texas A&M, New Mexico State. 39.5 point spread.
You know why? They're the only conference that doesn't play 9 conference games, and they never will, or 10 conference games, whatever the hell it is, because they're not going to give up these free wins. And this is where where college football is just light years behind the NFL in terms of fairness. The NFL wouldn't do shit like this ever. So there's still a couple of good games. One I think the wrong team is favored right now is Michigan State, Illinois. I like Michigan State there. I just think Illinois is a fraud. I mean, obviously they were ranked there for a little while. The other one that's actually LSU is playing Florida, so that should be maybe a good game. I don't know. Something is kind of stinking on that game. Why is LSU only favored by 4.5 there going to the Swamp? We just saw Florida get absolutely railed by Texas. I mentioned it last week that they're just down a ton of players from injury. So in LSU is 3-2 in the SEC, 6-3, 15th in the country. Why are they only ranked 4.5? That's kind of surprising to me. Just kind of scrolling through here, seeing if there's anything else that stuck out. You did say Tennessee, Georgia. What's your thoughts on that game? Anything that you're thinking? It's at Georgia.
It's at Georgia. Georgia off a loss. I know they haven't had very many losses. They're 48-0 against every team except for Alabama and Ole Miss last few seasons. I don't know if you've seen that joke.
No.
Like in big bold letters, like Georgia's 48-0 over the last 5 seasons, except for when they play Alabama and now Ole Miss.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, they're 48-0 over the last 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Just don't count Ole Miss and Alabama.
Yeah, well, that's nice. Good for them. The other,
I'd imagine they win that game at home.
Yeah. The other late game that I actually just forgot that is playing is Kansas going to BYU. That spread's only 3. I just don't know what Kansas team is going to show up. If it's the same Kansas team that showed up against Iowa State, they may blow the fuck out of BYU. But, and especially coming off a big emotional win like that, BYU, not Kansas, but I don't know. So there's a couple spots there I think that would be interesting that I'll just have to do more looking at, but those are kind of my early leans. We'll move to NFL. We've got a Thursday night game coming up in a couple days. The Washington Commanders travel to your Philadelphia Eagles.
Good for the plan last night. Terry McLaurin under 63.5 receiving yards. Quinyon Mitchell is playing like an elite corner already.
Mm-hmm.
He's already playing like a top 5 corner. He's shut down some great receivers over the last month. I'm not sure if he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year because he doesn't quite have the stats. But I think he can shut down Terry McLaurin. He plays right where Terry McLaurin plays. He's going to, in my opinion, I think he certainly can contain him to well under 63.5 yards.
Yeah, so he's already
moved. Too many unders, but that one was one I've been looking forward towards. Because I'm not a big Terry McLaurin fan, and Quinyon Mitchell is playing some elite football right now. But if you look at the prop stat cash, you can say, Terry McLaurin's over this in 6 straight games against the Eagles. But Quinyon Mitchell hasn't played any of those games.
Nope.
The last 3 seasons.
Yeah, so you can see
the matchup to watch up this weekend.
That line's kind of already steamed.
Doesn't really count because the Cowboys had Cooper Rush, but he contained CeeDee Lamb to 20-something yards. A lot of other key receivers over the last month or so. I think he does it again this week. Of course, there's the Zach Ertz revenge game. I'm not going to bet that either way. But I think it's got to be somebody else besides McLaurin.
You said you're not going to bet Ertz.
Ertz return to Philly. I don't even think it's a revenge game because there's no hate there. But Zach Ertz return to Philly.
We'll share this since we're talking about Terry. So yeah, you may be thinking 50%, 82% head to head, but
it's just last 5 against the Eagles.
Yep.
If you see some of the receivers that Mitchell shut down, CeeDee Lamb at 21 yards, Brian Thomas 22 yards, Chase 54, Neighbors 41, Cooper 42, Mike Evans had 94. That's a huge game.
For everyone watching,
Quinyon Mitchell's playing outstanding.
And for everyone watching, that line is still, you can still get it at 62.5 on DraftKings. That's actually what I took it at. I'm not sure if it's available on some other books. I haven't looked. I know it wasn't on BetMGM this morning. I only know that for a fact, but I haven't checked like Caesars or anything like that. Let me check MGM right now.
You can still get 62.5.
Yeah, on
I don't
DraftKings.
bet very many unders, so when I do bet an under, I feel very, very confident about it.
See if ESPN Bet has
Probably
it.
should bet a few more unders than I normally do bet.
It's just a hard thing to do because you're kind of like cheering for someone's non-success, which almost feels wrong, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, technically, you
I
could
mean,
be
it can have
cheering.
60 yards.
Yeah.
60 yards is a solid game.
So, yeah, Terry McLaurin is 59.5 on ESPN Bet, 59.5 on FanDuel, which is one of the sharper bets when it comes to books.
That's
Sorry,
something we talk about too. The fact that he's the lowest line on FanDuel, of course, most bettors bet almost exclusively over. So if FanDuel has the lowest line, that's always a sign, I think, for both of us that a player would likely to go under.
Yeah, that's generally kind of like when I see something like that. Well, and especially between DraftKings and FanDuel, right? You're talking. Well, you got 4 yards of CLV, or for people who don't know what CLV is, closing line value. So that's a lot. 4 yards is a lot. So I don't. It's why it's always important to have multiple books, in my opinion. Anyone who just has a FanDuel or a DraftKings, I do implore you, please, you need 4 books at least. And the reason for that is line shopping. But also I think something, because something we can maybe talk about more in a minute or so if you want, is like account health. I think a lot of people who are, if you're going to be betting, long term, I think they don't take a look. They don't really manage, in my opinion, or even try to look out for their account health of any one book. And having multiple books is very important for overall account health, because when you're spreading your betting out more or less kind of evenly, not on purpose, just because you find better lines on different books as you're betting sports, right? It keeps your account health healthy, meaning that you're not likely to get limited for longer. So I know some people ask me sometimes like, hey, why aren't you limited on this book yet? Like, I'm limited. And I was like, because I got fucking 6 accounts. I am constantly betting on different apps, and that helps keep my accounts looking healthy and not limited. So I still do get limited on some things, and it's really random. It's not like you, where you are straight up limited badly on DraftKings.
Worse on Fanatics. I can't do shit on Fanatics anymore.
Yeah, you cooked them. So
I mean, that's part of it. If I could be more courteous of my long-term account health, betting props 3 or 4 days early. A lot of books don't necessarily like that. Some of them would encourage that. Like FanDuel might encourage that, help shape their line a little bit, because that's what the chart books do in Vegas. They encourage, and I don't even bet that much money. I bet usually 100 on each prop to win 100. But
yeah,
if I was looking long term, I might not necessarily do those kind of things. Knock on wood, I'm only limited on 2 books. Can't really use Fanatics anymore. That counts shot. DraftKings I can use occasionally.
Straights are fine for you. It's just parlays, essentially.
No, I can't do parlays on DraftKings anymore.
Yeah. And but to your point, Fanatics isn't really a book that you were kind of looking to keep long term.
Fanatics, no.
So that's
what
why
a dog shit book.
Yeah, they're a dog shit book.
Apparently that's the easiest book to get limited on. You win 3 bets in a row and you get limited.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, like, if it's a dog shit book, then just hammer them while you can, because, fuck them. They're not that good anyways. Obviously I actually don't think I know anyone that's limited on FanDuel personally. I know Yeah, I don't. I that's kind of again
That's the kind
why,
of thing. FanDuel, they encourage sharp action because they help
right?
that to set their best lines. Well, as Fanatics, if they see you have sharp action, they just go ahead and limit you to $6. Like they don't want your action at all. When they
Yeah,
have the absolute worst line, that's why I got limited on Fanatics, and it took 3 weeks.
yeah,
But they let me bet on baseball. I can bet on baseball on Fanatics, so maybe that's just what I'll do from now on.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
It's baseball only on Fanatics. Same
You
thing with
know,
DraftKings sometimes.
and people don't also realize like what books are doing. So like there's multiple things that you should be doing about if you actually care about your account health. One is obviously having multiple books to try and spread your growth over, because when you're losing on one book, you're likely winning on another book, and then maybe in 2 weeks it'll flip flop, right? And you really kind of want that small type of growth or losing, and all you're really doing is at the end of, I do this personally, at the end of each week, if one of my accounts was like a consistent winner and the other one wasn't, I'll just take out a couple $100 or whatever, 200, 300, 400, 500. And then I just Venmo that money to my other accounts. So, say I won, $600-700 on FanDuel, but I lost fucking 300 on DraftKings. Well, DraftKings only knows I lost 300, and then I just added 300 more, right, to even all my accounts back out. So doing something like that is really, really good for you in your accounts long term. The other one I think that people don't realize is they are looking at when you are betting. Now, FanDuel doesn't really care as much, as you said, but like if you're getting up at like 5 a.m. and you log into your DraftKings account and you instantly go to NFL and you see something and you bet it right away, you're likely going to get flagged as someone who's sharp and they may limit you. So that's a hard thing to do because those are when you want to bet those lines. But I know you kind of got flagged on, you had a really great NFL season and then you took out too much money too quickly when, we're not, and I'm not discouraged people from taking money out. I'm saying take the money out slowly. Take $200 out one
Yeah.
week.
If I could have done that, I would have
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah. It's just weird small things that you need to think about. Yeah. Taking the money out in smaller chunks over time, because you kind of take a mental break during the summer, right? Which is great. And then you use that money that you won for vacations. I implore everyone to do the same thing, unless you're like have some longer term goal or it's just money that you don't really give a shit about. Keep growing it. Great.
Sure, bet on baseball.
Yeah. Bet on baseball. Follow me. I fucking love that shit. So, for me, I started with $300 in my FanDuel account and I've grew that to like about $3,000, split it into more accounts, and then just have grown that. So it was all just like to me, the money in my accounts is not real because it's just there. I'm not touching it. So at some point I will start.
That's another key point.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take it out because I don't need it for anything. So for me, I'm trying to get my accounts like to a ridiculously high amount where I can start taking out bigger chunks at a time and it'll mean something. Now that may end up fucking my DraftKings account, unfortunately, but it's likely not going to screw anything with my FanDuel. So, but until that point, you want to drag these out for as long as possible because they just hate successful gamblers. They do. It sucks. It feels
some more than others.
Yeah, some more than others.
Maybe Bet365. Knock on wood. If I get limited there, I'd be very disappointed.
I'm going to be very sad. I have tried very hard to make sure my Bet365 account doesn't get limited by
betting. Bet more parlays on Mark.
Yeah, I bet.
That's another thing. If you only bet straights like what I do normally, I feel like you can definitely help your account out by betting some minus EV plays, bet some more dumb parlays.
Yeah.
First touchdown scores.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. And, again, it's okay. And you probably should bet some kind of quote unquote stupid plays to lose, a few dollars here and there. Obviously, if your account's like, $100 and you're like betting $5, it's kind of hard to just throw $5 on something, right? But they're not really looking at your account anyways, and I don't mean that rudely in any way. But if your account's in the thousands or whatever, use their boost. That's what they're there for. They're trying to entice people to bet, and I make sure to bet the boost just because, and then I'll spray some kind of ridiculous play that's bigger odds that I really wouldn't do just to lose some money on. It sounds dumb, I know, but like if you want to keep a book long term, that's the type of stuff you have to do to keep it around, because otherwise they're just going to look at you and say, this guy's fucking winning too much money. And in some books, as Lucas has already said, some books it doesn't even take that much money. Fanatics, right? For instance. So
3 weeks now is limited with NFL. Didn't even do that much damage. I mean, I was betting on baseball, so they let me do that just fine.
Yeah. So
maybe you get some CLV on some straights on a Wednesday or Thursday, and they don't like that.
Nope. I said that guy's got to go.
This guy knows what he's doing. He can spot a shitty line on a Thursday afternoon.
Bet365, I feel like, I know some people have been limited, but they're a part of a bigger corporation, which is Bet USA, I think, or Bet.
Okay. I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it'd be harder to get limited there. I don't really know, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe people watching this who aren't live or whatever, even after the fact, go back, rewatch this little portion about account health, because it is very important if you want to be a long-term gambler that's successful in this space or whatever. So we'll kind of step away from that, I guess. Is there any other thing that you're looking at for the Thursday game?
Like we got to an important topic there. It's a lot of important stuff. Things I wish I would have thought about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because of course we're both into long-term successful gambling, and sometimes you have to think about things like that. And I wasn't thinking about that 3 years ago. Account health and longevity.
Yeah. And it'll all probably catch up.
We can definitely have a segment on that sometime.
Yeah, maybe towards
things that you don't necessarily hear about, especially if you're betting 20 parlays a day and unlimited slips. They don't care if you're betting plus 5,000 lottos every night, but
yeah,
the way we bet, you kind of do have to think about it. The way we definitely focus on the straights and getting CLV.
Yeah. I've always kind of wondered how people who do the EV kind of spray thing, how they don't get limited, because maybe they don't care because they're betting smaller amounts and just but like a shitload of bets. So maybe as a consumer, they just look like someone who has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and they're just like betting wildly.
There's definitely ways to get your account flagged.
Yeah.
If you bet weird ass amounts, they're gonna think you're arbitrage betting.
That's true.
Like normally I'll bet to win 100. If you bet to win $276, it might flag your account.
Yeah, like that's
weird ass. That's one way to.
Yeah, I don't do. I'm not in that.
This is very important stuff. I feel like we could go back and address this some other time.
Yeah, well, this might be like an end of the.
Want to learn how to bet? I try to help my friends and family in the Discord. It's the coolest thing ever when when one of my cousins or one of my friends from back home or college or whatever says, "Hey, I've really learned some things from you. I've learned how to bet over the last few months, or the last year." That's the coolest shit ever to me. I try to, not that feel like I'm the best gambler in the world. I'm trying to get better all the time, but I feel like I'm certainly very good at NFL. I know what I'm doing for the most part to get limited on 2 books, but I don't just want to give out winners. I also want to help other people.
Yeah.
And help myself get better long-term at gambling. I try to get better all the time. I feel like I always am getting better.
Yeah. I agree.
Things to learn because the game's certainly changing.
This is definitely a subject I think we should probably just spend a whole podcast doing, maybe towards the end of the season or something. to go
definitely.
over it, because there is a lot of stuff that's I think that a lot of people in this space just don't talk about, and it's probably the most important thing, which is account health. So we'll kind of table that for now. I love that you actually know a lot of the people in your Discord that and the people are like, oh man, yeah, what do you think about this? I'm doing this because you did this thing prior or whatever, and it's like,
That is some of the coolest shit ever. And a lot
yeah,
of people in real life in the Discord, and a lot of them have told me things like that. Oh, you've helped me learn about betting over the last year, the last
yeah,
several months. That's the coolest shit ever to me.
yeah. Well, I know you've helped me personally grow in NFL so much. I would honestly have said prior to like us and our friendship is that I was probably a bad NFL better, to be honest. I was either bad or like average, I would say. I was very much the perfect example, the absolute perfect example is this right here. This play. I would have looked at that play like right now, and I was like, oh man, this is an over. I mean, look
He
at
kills
that.
the Eagles.
Look at
I
that.
mean, he could have 70 yards against the Eagles.
He could.
64, but
He could. I mean, if anyone could do anything, right?
I
But
mean that line could be 10 yards higher.
yeah, but you look at something like this and you have to say to yourself, why isn't that line higher? Why he's covered this, five of the last 6 times, 50% this year. He's had big games, you may look, I guess, and you could say the Eagles defense is third. So I don't know, but
Yeah, if you look more into it, definitely
it's just,
supports it.
yeah, I think too many people, and I was very guilty of this, was looking at very surface level things when it comes to NFL. And yes, you can do that. And that will work.
You can.
I don't know, 50% of the time or whatever, maybe even it probably less, to be honest. But like, there's so much more when you're talking about finding very quality bets that I think the perfect example last night was Odell, right? Now, obviously, he didn't hit the ladder like both you and I hoped, but he got his yards. And that's all that really mattered, right? Because that's all that that was the main bet.
It's better than it should have been, but he cashed.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that I know that has really changed the way I approach the NFL, especially the narrative piece. A lot of these guys give a lot of shit about stuff like that. I'll never forget last year, was it Justin Jefferson talked about in an interview that he had a special touchdown celebration planned if he got in the end zone that week. And you're like,
shit like that matters to me. I can't think of the exact time, but
yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was Jefferson. I could be off there. I don't know. But like, I remember we talked about that and
I remember betting things like that. If I hear somebody has a touchdown celebration planned, I'm betting them to score.
Yeah. And I remember,
I think a lot of these guys have celebrations planned. They just can always do it when they want to. They're not Justin Jefferson, but
yeah. But like, if you're going to talk about it publicly, like there's something there, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's stuff like that I look way more into now. I'm still not at your level where I'm dialed in and following probably a lot of accounts that I probably need to maybe find or click more into to look to find more of the narrative stuff. But yeah, I just know it's changed so many of my straight bets that I make. I mean, that's why I thought last week that Christian McCaffrey, first week back, the narrative play, right? Get that dude in the end zone. Obviously, it didn't work out for us.
He got his yards.
Yeah, he got his yards. Yeah, so
total yards. He didn't get the rushing yards, but had a bunch of receiving yards to catch the combined line.
Right. So
he catched the first quarter yards. So I mean, that's something I've been doing.
Yeah.
Like with TJ Hawkinson, they obviously had a couple plays designed for him in the first quarter, and he didn't do too much the last 3 quarters his first game back. But
right,
it's just things like that.
Yeah.
I think that's certainly how football is different than betting on baseball.
There's too many games in baseball for narratives to really
12
matter.
for 27 lifetime against this pitcher. You feel pretty good about him getting a hit.
Yep. Baseball is the
betting on
most.
football is kind of the opposite of betting on football.
We've
Really not my
talked
best
about.
score. I feel like it's so much more numbers, so much more analytics. Where you say this hitter likes to hit fastballs or breaking balls. This
Yeah.
pitcher throws breaking balls 40% of the time.
Well,
Football doesn't necessarily work like that most of the time.
And that's what we've talked about. Baseball is so analytical, and that's why when I do MLB first pitches, they're so successful. Is because
just follow the data and
follow the data, man.
Leads you the right way.
Yep. And people don't really. It's hard to accept or believe unless you see it and see the success. Where it's like, yeah, this guy loves to throw a fastball low and inside on right-handed hitters, and he's done it fucking 90% of the time, and sure as shit, well, bam, there it is, right? Well, football's not that way. Yes, there are tendencies that teams and players like to do, but game flow changes everything. So that's not and narratives change everything. They'll get in their coaches' ear.
Everything.
You know? Yeah. They'll get in their coach's ear, coach, I want in the end zone so bad. I fucking hate them guys or whatever.
It means something to the player. That means something to me. That's right. It meant something to Waddell. And he had a chance to score. I think the Rams were prepared for him to score. He helped Tyreek Hill get open on that one touchdown.
Yep.
Kind of fake like he was doing the goal line fade, and the Rams were ready for that. So Tyreek get open on the out route. But I don't know if you played football growing up, but if you played sports, there was certainly one game, maybe two games on the calendar that meant a little bit more than the others. I feel like every player in the NFL has one or two games that certainly mean something.
Yeah.
A revenge game, a hometown game against former coaches, things like that. I mean, all kind of narratives. I try to, as much as I can, to look into some kind of narrative, something that means something to the players. It means something to those guys. It means something to me.
Yeah.
Rashad White, I cashed on him. His first game in Kansas City. He's from Kansas City. He scored a touchdown.
Yep.
I guarantee you that meant a hell of a lot more than most of his touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah. So it's all good stuff. And, you try to find, like, unfortunately, college football is not the same. There are some narratives that you can kind of get into, but, with it's mostly rivalries more than anything, which was like last week with Utah versus, BYU. That's a really kind of about as far as you can take it because there's not generally – the players aren't all at the same place for a long time where they can kind of build up this rapport or disdain for a certain player or team or coach or something like that. Guys just don't stick around 4 years and stuff like that anymore. So really got to pick your spots. It's really an NFL thing. It's good stuff. It's a good like that. I suppose probably NBA is a lot like that too with the narrative stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I bet NBA, but I don't watch a single second of it. I bet NBA a very unique, special way, which is it's literally 99% unders. And then I just look near the end of the day how things did. So, people don't want to hear that. I made 100 units last year, not watching a single second probably pisses people off. But guess what? I don't.
Probably.
I don't need to fucking watch that piss poor product to make money on it. So we'll leave that at that. So good show. I think we covered some good topics. Some, like you said, I think we definitely should get into more maybe after the season and have a longer form, maybe just a whole show about that stuff. Because that stuff is important to me. I know it's important to you. Hopefully it's important to our viewers and stuff like that, or listeners. So we'll be back on Friday, as always, for the show where we give out our plays for the weekend, and probably keep an eye out for our Thursday night play. I know I'll be tweeting something out. I'm sure Lucas will as well. So I don't have anything else. What about you?
Only one play so far for Thursday. Terry McLaurin under receiving yards. I do actually have one for Sunday. We can talk about that Friday.
Yep.
Some good games. I'm not sure they're going to be good betting wise necessarily. Definitely some entertaining games to watch. NFL this Saturday.
One of my key ones
on Friday.
One of the key ones there, I think, as we were speaking about narratives, the Seahawks and the 49ers normally delivers pretty good betting spots, I guess. We'll see as I dig more into that if that holds true. So other than that, Lucas, great talk. We'll see you on Friday.
See you on Friday. Thanks whoever's been listening.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.